Before we jump into the episode, I want to let you know that I've written a step-by-step guide to help you through the process of securing your first role in health informatics by providing you with concrete examples of what roles to search for, common skills requested by employers, example interview questions, and much more. If this is of interest to you, you can check out the show notes of the episode where I have a link to the ebook below. Now, let's get back into the episode. Hi there. Welcome to the Health Analytic Insights Podcast. This podcast is all about creating a community of like-minded individuals who are passionate about the field of health informatics. I hope to share information and advice in topics such as health analytics, digital health, biomedical engineering, and data visualization in healthcare. And in exchange, I would love to hear from you, dear listener, about your experience and interest in this field. You can drop me a line at HealthAnalyticInsights@gmail.com, and this email, along with any references discussed during this podcast, will be listed in the show notes below. If this resonates with you, don't forget to follow and subscribe to this podcast, as I'll be releasing new episodes bi-weekly. So in this episode of the Health Analytic Insights Podcast, we're going to do a deep dive into some common job titles in health informatics. Because the health informatics field is fairly new, there's a bit of confusion on what even are job titles that you should search that actually fit into the field. So in more established fields like business analyst field or the project management field, you have these roles already in place. But because health informatics is fairly new, they're not as of yet set job titles. And so you can have a lot of variability depending on your location and the organization that you apply to. In this episode, I want to shine some light on common health informatics job titles that you can search for today. So when it comes to tailoring your job search, one tip that I have is to search for a skill that you might already have experience in, and then the industry you're interested in. So when I usually do my job search, I will search Power BI because that is the data visualization tool that I have experience in. And Power BI is a tool that's developed by Microsoft. And you can try it for free if you just download Power BI Desktop. And it's also a common tool used in the health informatics field. So when I'm searching for jobs, I just search Power BI plus healthcare in Indeed or LinkedIn and see what pops up. And if you search long enough, you'll start to see some similarities and commonalities between job postings with respect to the technical skills that employers are looking for. So again, you'll often see employers looking for experience with SQL, experience with a data visualization tool such as Power BI, Tableau, and or Click, and also experience with clinical terminology. And these are just some of the base criteria that employers are typically looking for when it comes to jobs in the health informatics field. So again, I've searched a lot of relevant jobs by just putting in Power BI and healthcare. So when it comes to some of these similar job titles and skills, I have compiled a few that I'm going to go over in this episode. So some common job titles, and you'll often see the word analyst in the title for the health informatics role. And right away, this can clue you into, okay, I need to develop my analytical skills, because you'll see job titles such as clinical systems analyst, EHR analyst, information system analyst, clinical decision support analyst, application analyst, program analyst, and then some roles that don't have this analyst title include methodologist and clinical informaticist. But the majority of these roles have that analyst title in it. And so you really want to look for ways that you can develop your analytical skills. So as I said before, having experience with a data visualization tool, being able to communicate technical concepts to a non-technical audience. These are all common skills that an analyst position would typically do. And so some of the common job skills along those lines, some of the common job skills in the health informatics field include relevant clinical degree or experience with EHR vendor implementation, experience with data visualization tools, experience with database tools such as SQL, knowledge of large-scale clinical data set. And so I often get the question, what are some common interview questions that you might get in the health informatics field? And again, like a lot of these health informatics questions will just be associated with these common job skills. You might have questions that are related to, okay, what clinical experience do you have? Have you worked with any EHR vendors such as Epic or Cerner? Do you have experience with data visualization tools? Do you have experience with Excel? What is your ability to manage data and manipulate data writing SQL queries? And do you have any experience working with large-scale, complex clinical data sets where you have to kind of tease out the variables and be able to present your results to a non-technical audience? So a lot of the interview questions will stem from these skills and requirements that the employer has posted. So you can really create your own interview questions that could be relevant to these skills. So I recently did a resume review for someone who had a background in nursing and they were looking to get into the health informatics field. And I bring this up because I want to give a few pointers that I saw from the resume review, which might be helpful in your search for a health informatics position. So in her resume, she listed important skills for a health informatics professional, such as experience with Oracle SQL, SAS, and Tableau. So in her resume, she just had them listed. I recommended to her to include any specific projects to really showcase to employers that you have proficiency in these skills and it's not just a higher level understanding of Oracle SQL, SAS, or Tableau. So really delving into a project and providing quantitative details in your resume is important. So instead of just listing these skills, you could say, I created a project which predicted the readmission rates for a hospital by writing SQL queries and presenting my results in a dashboard using Tableau. And even better if you can measure the impact that your work has by using percentages, year-over-year increases, any of these variables, and showcasing this in your resume can really give the hiring manager a sense of your proficiency with these skills and what you'll be able to do when you come into the organization. So if you don't have any work experience, I would suggest creating a clinical business intelligence portfolio. And this is basically a project which allows you to showcase the technical skills and tools that you have experience in by solving or attempting to provide recommendations on a clinical issue. So for instance, in the show notes below, I've linked to a step-by-step video that I've done on creating a clinical business intelligence portfolio using Power BI and creating a dashboard that a hospital might use. And so you're using hospital KPIs like readmission rates or length of stay. These are common hospital KPIs that are used across organizations. So you can showcase to employers that you have this clinical understanding and terminology, and you also have the technical skills by using Power BI. And it's showcasing that you communicate your technical skills to a non-technical audience in the form of a dashboard or report. So again, you can click that link in the show notes below where I've done a YouTube video showing how you can go through that process step by step. In addition, in her resume, she stated the ability to learn and show proficiency in facilities EHR prior to completion of program. And so I again challenged her to expand more on this. What specific EHR vendor do you have experience with? Is it Epic? Is it Cerner? Or another EHR vendor? This is really critical because if one hospital is working with Epic and you have Epic experience, this is a really great benefit to put on your resume. So just making sure that when you are displaying these great points on your resume, you're not leaving it up for the hiring manager to make assumptions, but you clearly state, I have experience directly in this tool, in this software, and this is how it's relevant to the job. I also asked her to expand on what did you do specifically when working with the EHR? Were you able to provide suggestions on how to improve workflow when using the EHR? And do you have any experience as a super user? Because a super user is a great way to transition into a health informatics role as a user who has been given more training and more technical knowledge about the EHR so you can become that go-to person. This really is a leg up when it comes to transitioning to a health informatics role. And lastly, in her resume, she had listed collaborated with patients, caregivers, and healthcare professionals to implement agreeable and appropriate discharge plans for patients. And this is great because another important skill in the health informatics profession is to be able to work in an interdisciplinary environment and be able to present your findings. So again, I asked her to expand on this. Are there any specific presentations or trainings that she did for patients, caregivers, or any other healthcare professionals? Because this will really showcase her ability to communicate. So now that you're familiar with some common job titles and some key things that you might want to expand on or develop within your own resume, you can continue on with your search and see what the skill gap might be. So for instance, when I first started looking for jobs in the health informatics field, my degree and my co-op placement provided me with some relevant clinical terminology, but my data analytical skills were not as strong. And so regardless of the industry, whether it's healthcare or hospitality, analytical skills are quite transferable. So knowing how to work with Power BI is something that you can use in the hospitality industry, in finance, and in healthcare. Knowing how to present your audience, present your technical output to a non-technical audience, again, that's something that is cross-disciplinary. Whereas working in a health informatics role, working specifically with healthcare data, it can be a bit difficult to get experience with this because, of course, you're dealing with personal health information, which has standards and security around it. So to get specific access to certain databases that are proprietary, this can be very difficult to get that specific experience until you're actually working in that role and you've gone through the proper privacy and security training. So before I got into health informatics role, I wasn't able to practice in that area. The area that I could actually make a difference in was the analytical skills. And so I knew I needed to bolster my SQL programming skills because this was a skill that I saw pop up time and time again, and you'll see it also in multiple health informatics roles. So this was key information for me to start taking an online course and using free resources such as great YouTube videos, and I'll leave a link to an introductory SQL playlist by the YouTube channel Cat, which was really a great introduction to learning SQL. And when it comes to learning SQL for a health informatics role, you don't have to have experience at the level as a database administrator, but you should have a basic foundational understanding of how to join data sets together using common joins such as left, inner, and right join. Also, you should know how to write basic queries to manipulate the data, such as sum and count, and know how to use where statements to filter the data. So I hope this episode was helpful when it comes to giving you an overview of job titles you can search for today and how to structure your resume to better improve your chances of getting that health informatics position. If you'd like some feedback on your resume, you can send me an email at HealthAnalyticInsights@gmail.com. And don't forget to check out the resources below. I have a free guide linked below on how to get started in the health informatics field. Thank you for listening to the Health Analytic Insights Podcast. I'd love to hear from you about topics I should cover in future episodes. Please consider subscribing and leaving a review. Have a wonderful day.